Alex Mercer sat in his car, heart pounding against his ribs. The flash drive in his pocket felt heavier than it should, as if the weight of its contents were physical rather than digital. Outside, rain pelted the windshield, blurring the lights of the downtown skyline. He checked his watch. 9:47 p.m., still 13 minutes before the meeting. He'd never imagined being in this position. 6 months ago, he was just another engineer at Neurotech, working on their flagship artificial intelligence system. Good salary, nice apartment, comfortable life. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Alex took a deep breath and replayed the events in his mind. It started with coding anomalies he'd noticed while updating the security protocols. Small things at first, unexplained data transfers, strange server requests during odd hours. Being thorough by nature, he documented the patterns, thinking, it was just a bug to fix. I should have left it alone, he whispered to himself, fogging up the window with his breath. But he hadn't. Instead, he dug deeper, staying late when the offices emptied, tracing the digital breadcrumbs. What he found was a shadow system running parallel to Neurotech's main operations, a sophisticated program harvesting personal data from millions of users and rerouting it through a maze of offshore servers. The rain intensified, drumming on the roof. Alex rubbed his tired eyes. 3 nights without proper sleep was taking its toll. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Location. Change. Waterfront cafe. Same time. His stomach tightened. This wasn't part of the plan. Was it a trap? The journalist had been very specific about meeting in the parking garage. Neutral ground with multiple exits. Alex hesitated, then started the engine. If he wanted the truth to come out, he had to trust someone. The waterfront cafe was nearly empty when he arrived. Just an old man reading a newspaper and a couple huddled in the corner speaking in hushed tones. No sign of the journalist. Alex ordered a coffee and chose a table with a clear view of both the entrance and the emergency exit. The barista placed the steaming mug in front of him. Nasty night to be out, she commented. Alex nodded, not trusting his voice. The coffee burned his tongue, but he welcomed the sensation. Anything to ground him in reality. At exactly 10:00 p.m., a woman walked in, shaking raindrops from her umbrella. She scanned the room, her eyes landing on Alex. Without ordering, she walked directly to his table and sat down. You must be the whistleblower, she said quietly. Alex studied her face, sharp eyes, no-nonsense expression. Lisa Chen, from the Daily Observer? She nodded. Did you bring what we discussed? Alex's hand moved to his pocket, feeling the outline of the flash drive. Before I give you anything, I need your word that my name stays out of this. My life won't be worth much once this goes public. Lisa leaned forward. I protect my sources, but you should understand, people like Nathan Reynolds don't go down easily. Neurotech is worth billions, and he's connected to half the power players in Washington. I know the risks, Alex replied, though his dry mouth suggested otherwise. But what they're doing isn't just unethical, it's illegal. They've created a backdoor into private communications across multiple platforms. Emails, messages, voice calls. Nothing is secure from their system. And you have proof that Reynolds authorized this? Lisa asked. Alex pulled out the flash drive, keeping it under the table. Everything's here. Internal memos, code snippets, server logs. The system was built under a project codenamed Lighthouse. Officially, it was meant to improve ad targeting. Unofficially, it's surveillance, Lisa finished. On a scale nobody's seen before, Alex confirmed. But it gets worse. They're not just collecting data, they're selling access. I found transaction records. Some buyers are corporations, but others... He lowered his voice. Government agencies not authorized for domestic surveillance, foreign entities. Even private individuals with enough money and the right connections. Lisa's professional composure slipped for a moment, revealing genuine shock. If what you're saying is true, it is, Alex insisted. Cross-reference the dates in the files with these news stories. He slid a folded paper across the table. Too many coincidences. People whose private communications were compromised just before public scandals, business failures, or political downfalls. Lisa pocketed both items. I'll need time to verify all this. You have 48 hours, Alex said. After that, I'm gone. New name, new location. That won't protect you if Reynolds discovers you're the leak. Alex gave a grim smile. Maybe not. But I've made arrangements. If anything happens to me, additional copies go to other newsrooms, law enforcement, and straight to the internet. Lisa nodded approvingly. Smart. She stood up, preparing to leave. I'll contact you through the secure channel we established. Don't use your regular phone or email for anything important. I haven't for weeks, Alex assured her. As Lisa headed for the door, she paused. Why risk everything like this? You had a good life at Neurotech. Alex stared into his coffee. My grandmother fled a country where people disappeared for saying the wrong thing. She taught me that privacy isn't just a luxury. It's the foundation of freedom. He looked up at Lisa. What Reynolds is building is a prison made of information. Most people won't even know they're in it until it's too late. After Lisa left, Alex remained at the cafe nursing his cold coffee. The weight on his shoulders felt somewhat lighter, but the knot in his stomach had only tightened. There was no going back now. When he finally stepped outside, the rain had stopped. The air smelled fresh, cleansed. For a brief moment, he felt a sense of peace. He'd done the right thing. Then he noticed the black SUV parked across the street, engine running. Alex walked calmly to his car, fighting the urge to run. Inside, he checked his rearview mirror. The SUV hadn't moved yet. He started the engine and pulled out of the parking spot, driving exactly at the speed limit. At the first intersection, he turned right. The SUV followed. Stay calm, he whispered to himself. Stick to the plan. He navigated through downtown, making seemingly random turns while following a route he'd memorized days ago. The SUV kept pace, not too close, but always there. At a red light, Alex reached under his seat and pulled out a prepaid phone. He dialed the only number saved in its contacts. It's happening, he said when the call connected. Plan B, without waiting for a response. He tossed the phone out the window into a passing garbage truck. Perfect timing, just as he'd hoped when he'd studied the municipal collection schedules. The light turned green. Alex turned left onto the highway entrance ramp. The SUV was still behind him, closer now. He accelerated to merge with traffic, then abruptly cut across 3 lanes to take an exit that appeared with almost no warning. The SUV couldn't follow without causing an accident. Alex allowed himself a small smile as he watched the SUV shrink in his rearview mirror, stuck in highway traffic. The backup phone in his glove compartment buzzed. A text message. Safe house. Ready. Standard approach. 20 minutes later, Alex parked in a grocery store lot, walked 3 blocks, and took a bus to the edge of town. From there, he hiked through a wooded area to a small cabin. A battered pickup truck was parked outside. Tom Zhang, his college roommate who now worked in cybersecurity, opened the door before Alex could knock. You look terrible. Thanks, Alex said, stepping inside. Any news? Tom handed him a laptop. It started. Look. On the screen was a headline from a small tech blog. Rumors of massive data breach at Neurotech. The article was vague, but it mentioned anonymous sources and concerns about privacy violations. That was fast, Alex commented. Just the beginning, Tom said. Your journalist friend is thorough. She's cross-verifying before going big with it, but the whispers are spreading. Alex collapsed onto the couch. The adrenaline that had kept him going was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Reynolds will know it was me. Probably, Tom agreed. But he'll have bigger problems soon. The files you found, they implicate more than just Neurotech. There are connections to political campaigns, foreign lobbying groups. Once this breaks wide open, people will still find ways to justify it, Alex said bitterly. If you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide. That's what they always say. Tom sat across from him. Maybe, but you've given them a choice. Before, they didn't even know they were being watched. Alex nodded slowly. His phone, his Real one, buzzed in his pocket. Against his better judgment, he checked it. A company-wide email from Nathan Reynolds himself. Due to a security incident, all Neurotech systems will be undergoing emergency maintenance. All employees are placed on paid leave until further notice. They're trying to cover their tracks, Alex said, showing Tom the message. Too late, Tom replied with a grim smile. The data you copied included their deletion logs. If they try to destroy evidence now, it'll only prove the authenticity of what you leaked. Alex leaned back, closing his eyes. What happens tomorrow? You stay hidden. I've got a friend driving your car to Canada as we speak. Reynolds will have people looking for you. And the day after that? Tom shrugged. Depends how the story develops. Best case? Congressional hearings, class action lawsuits, Reynolds facing criminal charges. Worst case? The story gets buried and you spend the next few years looking over your shoulder. Alex opened his eyes, staring at the ceiling. No matter what happens, Neurotech won't be the same. The system I helped build. You couldn't have known, Tom assured him. Couldn't I? Alex questioned. We always talked about the potential for abuse. We just told ourselves the safeguards were enough. He sat up straight. This isn't the end. Reynolds isn't the only tech CEO willing to cross lines for profit or power. One battle at a time, Tom counseled. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. As Alex lay on the small bed in the cabin's lone bedroom, he thought about Lisa Chen and the flash drive. By now, she would be verifying his claims, preparing to break a story that would send shockwaves through the tech industry and beyond. He thought about his colleagues at Neurotech, many of whom had no idea what their work was being used for. He thought about Nathan Reynolds, who had once seemed so visionary, but had ultimately chosen power over principle. Most of all, he thought about his grandmother, who had taught him that some things were worth fighting for, even at great personal cost. Outside, an owl hooted in the darkness. Alex closed his eyes, finally allowing exhaustion to claim him. Whatever came next, he had made his choice. The truth was out there now, finding its way to the light. Alex woke to the sound of rain pattering against the cabin roof. For a moment, he forgot where he was, reaching for his phone on the nightstand that wasn't there, expecting the familiar view of his apartment. Reality crashed back as he sat up on the creaky bed. Today was day one of his new life as a whistleblower. Tom was already awake, hunched over a laptop at the small kitchen table. The smell of coffee filled the cabin. Morning, hero, Tom said without looking up. Or should I say, morning, fugitive. Alex grunted and poured himself coffee in a chipped mug. Any news? Tom turned the laptop toward him. See for yourself. The screen showed the Daily Observer's website. No headline story about Neurotech yet, but there was a breaking news banner about upcoming revelations in the tech privacy sector. Lisa Chen was being careful, methodical. She's building up to it, Tom explained. Smart move. Creates anticipation, makes it harder to ignore when it drops. Alex nodded, sipping the strong coffee. What about Reynolds? Any reaction? Official statement says Neurotech is conducting routine system maintenance. Unofficially? Tom clicked to another tab. 4 executive board members have canceled public appearances. Their stock dropped 8% at opening based on rumors. Alone. And their head of security was seen entering FBI headquarters an hour ago. Damage control, Alex muttered. Or rats leaving the ship, Tom suggested. Not everyone's willing to go down with Reynolds. Alex's burner phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. Story runs tomorrow. Main points verified by second source. You were right. About everything. He showed Tom the message. Second source? Tom raised an eyebrow. Someone else at Neurotech must have gotten cold feet. Alex wasn't surprised. He hadn't been the only one with concerns about Project Lighthouse, just the only one who'd taken action. He thought of Diane from the Data Ethics Committee, how she'd been sidelined after questioning the new algorithms, or Jack from Legal, who'd mysteriously transferred to another department after raising compliance issues. I need to see what's happening at the office, Alex decided. Tom nearly spilled his coffee. Are you insane? That's the first place they'll look for you. Not physically, Alex clarified. I want to check the employee forums, internal communications. Most of my colleagues have no idea what Reynolds was doing with their work. They deserve to know before it hits the news. Tom hesitated, then pushed the laptop toward him. Use the VPN and don't log into anything with your credentials. Alex nodded. He knew the drill. Using anonymous browsing and the skills he'd honed over the past months of secret investigation, he found his way into Neurotech's internal systems. The employee message board was buzzing with confusion and speculation. Server maintenance, my foot, wrote one programmer. Anyone else notice all the security personnel today? HR is conducting emergency interviews, another commented. People being pulled into conference rooms one by one. Reynolds canceled the quarterly review. That's never happened before. Alex felt a pang of guilt. These were his friends, his colleagues. Their lives were about to be upended too. Not as dramatically as his, perhaps, but still. Neurotech employed over 3,000 people. Many would face uncertainty in the coming days. They're witch hunting, Tom said, reading over his shoulder, looking for the leak. A new post appeared from Vivian Wu, Alex's team leader. Anyone heard from Alex? He's not answering calls and security just emptied his desk. Alex quickly closed the browser. They know. Tom nodded grimly. Faster than I expected. You covered your tracks well. Not well enough, apparently. Alex stood up and paced the small cabin. Reynolds must have figured out who had access to all the systems I exposed. Or someone talked, Tom suggested. Either way, we need to move you. This place won't stay safe for long. Alex nodded. They had prepared for this. The backup location? I'll make the arrangements. Tom reached for his phone. Meanwhile, you should prepare a statement. Once the story breaks, every news outlet will want the whistleblower's perspective. I told Lisa. No names. They don't need your name to run your words, Tom pointed out. Write something that explains why you did this. The public needs to understand what's at stake. While Tom made calls, Alex drafted his statement. He kept it simple, focusing on the facts. Neurotech had built a system that compromised the privacy of millions without their knowledge or consent. This system had been weaponized against ordinary citizens, journalists, and political opponents. The people deserved to know who had access to their private information and how it was being used against them. Hours passed. Tom arranged for transportation to a new safe house, a friend's vacation property in the mountains, empty during the off-season. They would leave after dark. As evening approached, Alex checked the news again. Still nothing major, but the tech blogs were filling with speculation. Neurotech's stock had fallen another 12%. A congressional representative on the Technology Oversight Committee had issued a statement, promising full investigation of any privacy violations. The wheels were turning. Tomorrow they would spin much faster. Tom's phone rang. His expression turned serious as he listened. When? He asked. Then, are you sure? Finally, keep me posted. He hung up. What is it? Alex asked. My contact at Neurotech. Reynolds called an all-hands emergency meeting for 6 p.m. Attendance mandatory, even, for remote workers. Alex checked the time, 5:40 p.m. Can your contact tell us what happens? They'll try, but security is collecting phones at the door. Reynolds is going old school, no digital record. Alex felt the knot in his stomach tighten. He's going to threaten them. Make examples of anyone suspected of helping me. Probably, Tom agreed. Reynolds didn't get where he is by being gentle. They fell silent, imagining the scene unfolding at Neurotech headquarters. Alex pictured the auditorium, remembered the quarterly meetings where Reynolds would pace the stage, charming and visionary, painting pictures of a future where Neurotech's AI would solve humanity's greatest challenges. Had it all been a lie? Or had Reynolds simply lost his way, seduced by power and the opportunity to play God with people's data? At 7:15, Tom's phone buzzed with a text. Meeting over. Reynolds on E. Warpath. Announced internal sabotage and promised legal action. FBI in building, questioning everyone who worked with AM. AM. Alex Mercer. His initials felt like a brand now, marking his former colleagues for scrutiny. We need to go, Tom said. Now. They packed quickly, not that Alex had much. Some clothes Tom had bought him, toiletries, the burner phone. The laptop would stay behind, wiped clean. As they loaded the pickup truck, another text came. Reynolds offering reward for info leading to, 6 figures. Tom whistled low. You've got him scared. Not scared enough, Alex replied. Not yet. They drove through back roads, avoiding main highways and cameras. Rain had started again, limiting visibility, a blessing in disguise. 3 hours later, they reached the mountain cabin, more remote than the first safe house. No cell service. Here, just a satellite internet connection for emergencies. Home sweet home, Tom said as they unloaded. At least until this blows over. If it blows over, Alex corrected. Inside, they found basic provisions, canned food, bottled water, first aid supplies. The place was rustic but secure. Solar panels provided limited electricity, enough for lights and charging devices. A wood stove would keep them warm. Tom checked his messages one last time before they would power down all devices. His eyes widened. What? Alex asked. Tom showed him the screen, a news alert from the Daily Observer. Breaking, tech giant Neurotech, accused of massive illegal surveillance operation. Lisa moved up the timeline. Alex realized. Tom nodded. Reynolds forced her hand with that meeting. She couldn't risk him destroying more evidence. They huddled around Tom's phone, reading Lisa Chen's explosive report. She had done her job well. The article detailed Project Lighthouse in clear, damning terms, explaining how Neurotech had created a shadow system that harvested data across platforms. It outlined connections to political operations, corporate espionage, and blackmail schemes. Most importantly, it revealed how ordinary people had been targeted, their private conversations monitored and used against them. The article quoted an anonymous whistleblower, Alex's words, carefully edited to protect his identity while preserving the impact of his testimony. Public reaction will be massive, Tom predicted. By morning, this will be everywhere. Alex felt oddly calm. Reynolds will deny everything. Of course. But Lisa included enough technical details to make the denials look hollow. And she mentions the second source, an executive with direct knowledge of Project Lighthouse. That's going to send Reynolds on an internal witch hunt. Alex wondered who had come forward. Diane? Jack? Perhaps even someone from the board? It didn't matter. What mattered was that he wasn't alone in this fight anymore. Get some sleep, Tom advised. Tomorrow's going to be chaotic. But sleep didn't come easily for Alex. He lay awake, wondering about his future. Best case scenario. Reynolds and his accomplices faced justice. Neurotech was reformed under new leadership, and eventually Alex could emerge from hiding, perhaps protected as a federally recognized whistleblower. Worst case, Reynolds used his connections to bury the story, hunt down Alex and make an example of him. Most likely the reality would fall somewhere in between. Around midnight, they briefly connected to download the latest news. The story had exploded. Neurotech scandal was trending, politicians were issuing statements. Tech forums were ablaze with analysis of Lisa's technical revelations, and Nathan Reynolds had finally responded, a video statement where he appeared confident, dismissive. These allegations are false, he declared. Neurotech operates with the highest ethical standards. We will cooperate fully with any investigation, secure in the knowledge that we have nothing to hide. Meanwhile, we are pursuing legal action against those who have defamed our company with these fabrications. Alex wasn't fooled by the performance. He had seen the evidence himself, copied the files, traced the connections. Reynolds was lying, through his teeth. What troubled him more was the statement's final line. We know exactly who is responsible for this corporate sabotage, and I promise you, They will face the full consequences of their actions. The way Reynolds said it, looking directly into the camera, sent a chill down Alex's spine. It felt personal, like Reynolds was speaking directly to him. "He's bluffing," Tom insisted when Alex pointed this out. "He can't know where you are." Alex nodded, but the unease remained. As he finally drifted toward sleep, his mind filled with images of the Neurotech offices, his colleagues facing questioning, Reynolds pacing like a caged predator, and somewhere in the shadows, unseen allies continuing the fight he had started. The rain against the cabin roof sounded different now, less like comfort, more like warning. A storm was coming, and Alex had placed himself at its center. 3 days had passed since Lisa Chen broke the Neurotech story. 3 days of chaos in the tech world, of congressional statements and plummeting stock prices. 3 days of Alex and Tom watching from their remote hideaway as the scandal they'd unleashed grew beyond anything they'd imagined. "Reynolds is testifying before Congress next week," Tom announced, scanning news on their satellite connection during their brief daily window online. "Emergency hearing. They're not messing around." Alex looked up from the canned soup he was heating on the small propane stove. "Will it matter? These hearings are usually just for show." "Maybe not this time." Tom turned the laptop so Alex could see. The FBI raided Neurotech headquarters yesterday, seized servers, documents, and look, who's leading the investigation? The screen showed a stern-faced woman with silver-streaked hair. "Special Prosecutor Helena Ortiz to lead Neurotech investigation," read the headline. Alex raised an eyebrow. "Should I know her?" "She took down FineSoft in that data manipulation case 3 years ago. Sent their CEO to prison. She doesn't play. Politics doesn't back down." Tom scrolled through the article. "Reynolds is in trouble." "What about the people who bought access to Lighthouse?" Alex asked. "Any names surfacing?" Tom's expression darkened. "That's where it gets complicated. Some powerful people are implicated in Lisa's reporting. They're pushing back hard, calling it fake news." "We have the evidence," Alex insisted. "Evidence that's being questioned. Reynolds is claiming the files were doctored, planted by corporate rivals." Tom ran a hand through his hair, unwashed for days. "It's turning into a political fight. Half the country believes Lisa's reporting, the other half thinks it's a hit job." Alex stirred the soup, frustration building. "This isn't about politics. It's about privacy, about basic rights." "Everything becomes political these days," Tom said with a shrug. "But there's good news too. Former Neurotech employees are coming forward, backing up your claims. The tech community is largely on our side. And look at this." He showed Alex another headline. "Class action lawsuit filed against Neurotech on behalf of 87 million users." The first time in days, Alex felt a glimmer of hope. "The system's working. For now," Tom cautioned. "But Reynolds still has tricks up his sleeve." He pointed to another news item, smaller, buried beneath the bigger headlines. "Neurotech claims breach was work of foreign agents." Alex nearly knocked over his soup. "What?" "They're floating a new narrative, claiming the whole thing was a sophisticated hack by foreign intelligence, designed to undermine American tech dominance." Tom's voice was grim. "It's clever. Shifts blame, wraps Reynolds in the flag, changes the conversation from corporate wrongdoing to national security." "That's ridiculous," Alex sputtered. "I worked there, I saw the internal memos." "Which is why we need to get you somewhere safe to testify," Tom said. "Anonymous statements won't be enough anymore. This is escalating too fast." The thought of going public sent a wave of nausea through Alex. "I can't." "You might not have a choice," Tom argued. "Reynolds is muddying the waters if you don't stand up." A sharp crack outside cut him off. Both men froze. "Was that?" Alex began. "A branch breaking," Tom finished, moving to the window. "Could be an animal." He peered through the curtains, then ducked suddenly. "Car," he whispered. "Coming up the drive." Alex's heart hammered. "How? Nobody knows about this place." Tom was already moving, grabbing his backpack. "No time. Out the back. Now." They had rehearsed this. Emergency exit through the rear window. Into the woods, then split up and meet at the designated point 2 miles away. Alex grabbed the go bag they kept ready. Cash, fake ID, burner phone. As he slipped through the window, he heard car doors slam at the front of the cabin. Multiple doors. "Move," Tom hissed behind him. They ran into the dense forest, staying low. The mountain terrain was rough, slowing them down. Behind them, voices shouted. Flashlight beams cut through the trees. "They're following," Alex gasped. Tom pulled him behind a large boulder. "Change of plan, we can't outrun them in the dark." He pointed to a steep ravine. "Down there. The creek will mask our trail." They half climbed, half slid down the rocky slope. The creek at the bottom was shallow but fast-moving, the water icy cold. They waded upstream, the sound of pursuit growing fainter. After 10 minutes of difficult progress, Tom gestured to a fallen tree that formed a natural bridge across the water. Up there, back into the trees. Once on higher ground, they paused to catch their breath. No voices now, no flashlights visible through the forest. "Who were they?" Alex whispered. "Couldn't tell. Could be FBI, could be Reynolds' private security." Tom checked his watch. "The emergency rendezvous is still the plan. My contact will meet us there at dawn." They pushed on through the darkness, using only the dim light of the moon filtering through the trees. Every sound, a night bird, a rustling, in the underbrush, made them freeze, listening for pursuers. By the time the eastern sky began to lighten, they had reached their destination, an abandoned ranger station deep in the national forest. Tom's contact was already waiting, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a hunting rifle slung over her shoulder. "You boys look rough," she commented, letting them inside. "Close call, Rita," Tom replied. "Someone found the cabin." Rita nodded, unsurprised. "Been watching the roads. 3 unmarked SUVs headed that way before sundown. Government plates." "FBI?" Alex asked. "Or NSA," Rita suggested. "Your little expose has rattled some big cages." She handed them each a bottle of water. "Word is Reynolds has friends in the intelligence community, people who benefited from Project Lighthouse." Alex sank onto a dusty chair. "So now what?" "Now you disappear for real," Rita said matter-of-factly. "My brother has a fishing boat. Canada's just across the lake." "No," Alex said, surprising himself with his firmness. "I'm not running." Tom stared at him. "After what just happened? They're hunting you, Alex." "Exactly. And if I run, Reynolds wins." Alex stood up, decision crystallizing. "I need to testify publicly, put my name and face to the evidence." "That's suicide," Tom argued. "It's the only way," Alex countered. "Reynolds is spinning this, making it about national security, foreign interference, anything but his own crimes. If I step forward, it becomes real. Not just files and code, but a person. Someone who was there, who saw it happen." Rita studied him with newfound respect. "The whistleblower reveals himself. It would change the narrative." "It would paint a target on his back," Tom protested. "The target's already there," Alex pointed out. "Has been since I copied those files. At least this way, I choose the battlefield." They debated through the morning, weighing options, risks, potential outcomes. By noon, they had a plan. Not a good one, perhaps, but the best they could manage under the circumstances. Rita made calls on a satellite phone, arranging transport. Tom reached out to Lisa Chen through encrypted channels, setting up a secure meeting. Alex drafted his public statement, longer than before, more detailed, with his full name attached. "Once you do this, there's no going back," Tom warned one last time. Alex nodded, understanding completely. "I know." 2 days later, they arrived in Washington, D.C., having traveled separately by various means to avoid detection. They rendezvoused at a small hotel in Georgetown where Lisa Chen was waiting with her editor, a grim-faced man named Howard. "You understand the risks?" Howard asked after introductions. "Better than most," Alex replied. "We'll run your testimony tomorrow, front page," Lisa explained. Same day as Reynolds's congressional hearing. Maximum impact. And security? Tom pressed. Howard nodded. We've arranged protection. Former Secret Service agents. And we have lawyers. Standing by. They spent hours going over details, refining Alex's statement, preparing for the inevitable backlash. Legal threats, character assassination, possibly worse. By evening, Alex was exhausted but resolute. Get some sleep, Lisa advised, as they finished. Tomorrow will be intense, but sleep wouldn't come. Alex lay awake in the hotel room, Tom snoring softly in the other bed, thinking about the path that had led him here. From comfortable tech worker to fugitive to… what? Public enemy? Hero? Probably somewhere in between, depending on who you asked. His phone, a new one, supposedly secure, buzzed with a text from Lisa. Heads up. Reynolds just released statement claiming he has definitive proof. The Neurotech breach was a Chinese intelligence operation. Alex typed back, "He's bluffing." Lisa responded immediately. "Maybe, but he sounds confident. Says he'll present evidence to Congress tomorrow." A cold feeling settled in Alex's stomach. Reynolds was crafty, connected. If he had manufactured evidence, pointing to foreign hackers, it could undermine everything. Another text from Lisa. "Still want to go public?" Alex stared at the message for a long minute. The easy path would be to back down, to disappear as Rita had suggested. Canada, then perhaps Europe or South America, a new identity, a quiet life. But the images came flooding back, the lighthouse code he'd discovered, the targeted individuals whose lives had been ruined, the sheer scale of the privacy violation. Reynolds had built a surveillance machine and sold access to the highest bidders. If Alex didn't stand against that, who would? He texted back one word. Yes. In the morning, Tom tried one last time to change his mind over coffee in their room. Reynolds is desperate, he argued. That makes him dangerous, more dangerous than ever. I know, Alex said quietly, but I started this. I need to finish it. Tom sighed, then pulled a small case from his backpack. Inside was a flash drive. Insurance, he explained. I've been working on this while you slept. It's a complete technical breakdown of Lighthouse, how it works, how to detect it, how to block it. If something happens to you, it goes public, Alex finished, touched by his friend's foresight. Everywhere, Tom confirmed. Every tech blog, security forum, and privacy group gets a copy. Reynolds might silence one whistleblower, but he can't stop the whole internet. At precisely 10 a.m., as Nathan Reynolds was being sworn in before the Congressional Committee, the Daily Observer published Alex Mercer's full testimony online and in print. His name, his photograph, his detailed account of Project Lighthouse and how he discovered it. By 10:05, it had been shared 10,000 times. By 10:15, 3 major networks had interrupted their coverage of the Reynolds hearing to report on the whistleblower's revelation. By 10:30, Alex Mercer was trending worldwide. In a secure room at the Daily Observer's offices, Alex watched on television as Reynolds was confronted with the new development. The tech CEO's composed facade cracked briefly, a flash of genuine shock and anger before the practiced smile returned. "Mr. Reynolds," the committee chairwoman said, "it appears a former employee of yours has come forward with significant contradictions to your prepared testimony. How do you respond?" Reynolds adjusted his tie, buying seconds to think. "I'm not familiar with all the details of this person's claims, but I can assure the committee that Neurotech has operated within the law at all times." The chairwoman held up a printed copy of Alex's testimony. "He provides specific examples, Mr. Reynolds. Project names, dates, your own emails authorizing the collection of data beyond what users consented to." For the first time, Reynolds looked genuinely uncomfortable. The narrative was slipping from his control. In the Observer office, Lisa squeezed Alex's shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "You changed the game." Alex nodded, but his eyes remained fixed on the screen, on Reynolds' increasingly desperate attempts to dodge direct questions. This wasn't over, not by a long shot, but for the first time since he'd discovered Project Lighthouse, Alex felt the balance of power shifting. The truth was out there now, impossible to contain, and he was ready to defend it whatever came next. The days following Alex's public testimony were a whirlwind. His face was everywhere. News channels, newspapers, social media. The man who exposed Neurotech became the story of the moment, overshadowing even Reynolds's congressional hearing, which had devolved into a disaster for the CEO. "They're calling for his resignation," Lisa reported, showing Alex and Tom the latest headlines on her tablet. They were in a new safe house, a corporate apartment owned by the Daily Observer, used for protecting sources in high-profile cases. Tom scrolled through the news feed. Board members jumping ship, stock down 60%. Federal investigations, expanding. He looked up with a grim smile. Reynolds is finished, but Alex couldn't share their optimism. He still has powerful friends, people who benefited from Lighthouse, who are now distancing themselves as fast as possible. Lisa pointed out, "No one wants to be associated with this scandal." A security guard knocked and entered, one of the former Secret Service agents Howard had hired. "Miss Chen, your editor is on the line, says it's urgent." Lisa stepped out to take the call, leaving Alex and Tom alone. "You know this isn't over," Tom said quietly. Alex nodded. "Reynolds won't go down without a fight." "I meant for you," Tom clarified. "Your life will never be the same. Even if Reynolds faces justice, even if Neurotech is reformed or broken up, you'll always be the whistleblower. That follows you forever." The thought had occurred to Alex many times over the past week. His old life was gone. His career in tech might be too. Who would hire someone with a reputation for exposing company secrets even when justified? "No regrets," Alex said, and meant it. Lisa returned, her expression tense. "That was Howard. One of our sources at the FBI says they're getting pressure from above to shift focus." "Meaning what?" Tom asked. "Meaning someone wants the investigation to target the leak rather than the content of the leak. They're talking about potential national security implications, unauthorized access to proprietary systems." "They're coming after me," Alex realized, a cold feeling settling in his stomach. Lisa nodded reluctantly. "It's possible. Howard is reaching out to contacts, trying to get a clearer picture." "We should move again," Tom suggested. "This location might be compromised." "No," Alex said firmly. "I'm done running. If they want to arrest me, let them. It'll just bring more attention to what Reynolds did." "It's not that simple," Lisa warned. "If they spin this right, they can make you the villain. A rogue employee who compromised sensitive systems, maybe even endangered national interests." "With what evidence?" Tom challenged. Lisa's expression was grim. Reynolds testified in the closed session of the hearing that Project Lighthouse was actually a counterintelligence program developed with unofficial government sanction. He's claiming Alex exposed legitimate security operations. "That's a lie," Alex said, anger rising. "Lighthouse was used against ordinary citizens, journalists, activists, not foreign threats." "We know that," Lisa assured him. "But Reynolds is muddying the waters and some powerful people are backing his play." A somber mood settled over the room. The initial triumph of exposing Neurotech was fading, replaced by the harsh reality of what they were up against. Not just a corporation, but a system designed to protect itself. "I need to go public again," Alex decided. "More details, names of specific targets, proof that Lighthouse was being abused." "That's risky," Tom cautioned. "Some of that information could actually violate security laws." "Then we need to be smart about it," Lisa said, professional instincts kicking in. "Focus on the domestic abuses. Show how Lighthouse was used against American citizens with no connection to national security." They spent hours planning their next move, reviewing the evidence Alex had gathered, identifying the most compelling cases of abuse that couldn't be justified under any national security rationale. By evening, they had drafted a new statement, more detailed, more focused, designed to counter Reynolds' latest narrative. As Lisa was preparing to leave with the draft, her phone rang. The call was brief, her expression changing from concern to alarm. "That was my source at Justice," she said after hanging up. "Arrest warrant for Alex is being prepared. Espionage Act charges." "Espionage?" Tom exploded. "That's insane." "It's strategic," Lisa corrected. "Those charges come with serious restrictions on what can be discussed publicly. They could effectively silence Alex and limit media coverage of the technical details." Alex felt strangely calm. He had known this might happen. "How long do we have?" "Hours, maybe. They're expediting the paperwork." "Then we expedite too," Alex decided. "Get the new statement out now before they can shut me down." Lisa nodded and hurried out. The security detail around the apartment doubled, Howard pulling in additional personnel as news of the pending arrest spread through the Observer's contacts. Tom paced the apartment, growing increasingly agitated. "This is wrong. You did the right thing and they're treating you like a traitor." "It's how the game is played," Alex replied, watching the city lights through the window. "Reynolds can't win on the facts, so he's changing the rules." "We should get you out of the country," Tom suggested. "I still have contacts who can—" "No," Alex cut him off. "I'm not running. That would just validate their narrative." His burner phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. "Statement going live in 30 minutes. All major outlets alerted." Alex showed the message to Tom. "Last chance to turn back." "There never was a turning back," Tom said with a sad smile. "Not since you copied those files." At 11 p.m., Alex Mercer's second public statement hit the internet. More detailed than the first, it methodically demolished Reynolds's national security claims by documenting specific cases. An environmental journalist whose private messages were accessed after investigating a chemical company tied to Neurotech's board. A family court judge who ruled against a tech billionaire, then found her personal medical records mysteriously leaked. Ordinary citizens targeted for their political activities. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Stand with Mercer began trending. Tech workers staged walkouts at several major companies, demanding transparency about data practices. Privacy advocates called for emergency legislation, but the machinery of government was already in motion. 2:17 a.m., federal agents arrived at the Observer's safe house. The security detail under Howard's orders did not resist, but insisted on proper procedure in the presence of Alex's attorney, a renowned civil liberties lawyer who had volunteered to represent him. Alex watched calmly as they read him his rights. Tom, standing nearby, looked ready to explode but kept his peace, knowing a scene would only make things worse. "It's okay," Alex assured him as they placed him in handcuffs. "This is part of the process." Tom gripped his shoulder. "We'll fight this every step." As they led Alex away, reporters were already gathering outside, tipped off by sources inside law enforcement who disagreed with the arrest. Cameras flashed, questions shouted. Alex kept his head high, his expression determined. For 3 days, Alex remained in federal custody, held in a secure facility while his attorney fought for bail. The charges were serious: violations of the Espionage Act, unauthorized computer access, theft of trade secrets. The prosecution argued he was a flight risk, pointing to his weeks in hiding, but public pressure was mounting. Protests formed outside the courthouse. Tech industry leaders, even those who had been rivals of Neurotech, released statements supporting whistleblower protections. International privacy organizations filed amicus briefs. On the 4th day, as Alex waited in a holding cell for another hearing, his attorney arrived with unexpected news. "The special prosecutor wants to meet. Just you, me, and her. No record." Alex frowned. "Helena Ortiz? Why?" She didn't say. "But this is unusual. Very unusual." The meeting took place in a small conference room. No recording devices allowed. Prosecutor Ortiz was exactly as she appeared in her photos. Stern, precise, intimidating. She wasted no time on pleasantries. "Mr. Mercer, I'll be direct. You've created quite a situation." I exposed criminal activity, Alex replied. Ortiz nodded slightly. Yes, and in doing so, you've stepped into a very complicated landscape of competing interests. She placed a folder on the table. I've reviewed the evidence you provided to Ms. Chen. I've also reviewed the classified material Reynolds submitted to the Congressional Committee. Alex's attorney leaned forward. And I find myself in a difficult position. Ortiz's expression remained neutral. There are elements of truth in both narratives. Project Lighthouse did have some legitimate national security applications. It also was clearly abused for private gain and political advantage. So what happens now? Alex asked. Ortiz studied him for a long moment. That depends partly on you. The charges against you are serious. The evidence substantial. A conviction is probable. Alex's attorney started to object, but Ortiz raised a hand. However, I am not convinced that prosecuting a whistleblower serves justice in this case. She tapped the folder. I'm prepared to offer an arrangement, not a deal, not a plea bargain, but an understanding. What kind of understanding? Alex's attorney asked cautiously. Mr. Mercer agrees to certain restrictions on what technical details he can discuss publicly. In exchange, I focus my investigation on the actual abuses of power, both by Neurotech and any government officials who facilitated or benefited from unauthorized surveillance. Alex considered the proposal. You want me to stay quiet about how Lighthouse actually worked? About specific technical implementations, yes, Ortiz confirmed. Those details could indeed compromise legitimate security operations, but you would be free to discuss who was targeted, how they were victimized, and the broader pattern of abuse. And the charges? Held in abeyance pending the larger investigation. If that investigation confirms your core allegations, as I suspect it will, the charges would likely be dropped entirely. Alex looked to his attorney, who gave a small nod. This was better than they could have hoped for under the circumstances. I need assurances that Reynolds and everyone involved will face justice, Alex insisted. No sacrificial lambs while the real players walk away. Ortiz's expression hardened. Mr. Mercer, I don't make promises about outcomes, but I can promise you this. I follow the evidence wherever it leads, regardless of wealth or position. Ask the former CEO of FineSoft if you doubt me. The negotiation continued for hours, hammering out specifics. By evening, they had reached an understanding. Alex would be released on strict conditions. The investigation would proceed with his cooperation, and Special Prosecutor Ortiz would have the freedom to pursue both corporate and government officials implicated in the Lighthouse abuses. As Alex was processed for release, Tom and Lisa waited outside the federal building with a small group of supporters. News of the arrangement had already leaked. Nothing stayed secret in Washington for long. Is it enough? Tom asked as they drove away, reporters in pursuit. Alex watched the federal building recede in the rear window. It's a start, he said. Reynolds will still face justice, the abuses will be exposed, the victims will have their day. And the system that made it all possible? Lisa pressed. Alex turned to face forward, toward whatever future awaited him. As the man who had taken on one of the most powerful tech companies in the world. That, he said quietly, is the next fight. 6 months had passed since Alex Mercer became a household name. 6 months of investigations, hearings, and media coverage. 6 months of living in a strange limbo, neither fully free nor fully prosecuted, his future hanging on the outcome of Special Prosecutor Ortiz's work. In that time, the world around him had transformed. Neurotech, once a tech giant worth billions, had been hollowed out. Its stock had collapsed, its board disbanded, its assets being sold off piece by piece. Nathan Reynolds, after a disastrous second congressional appearance where evidence directly contradicted his testimony, was facing multiple federal charges. But the story had grown beyond one company and one CEO. Ortiz's investigation had expanded, following the digital trails to other tech firms, political operatives, and government officials who had either enabled Project Lighthouse or benefited from its capabilities. You've started something much bigger than you intended, Lisa Chen observed as she and Alex sat in a quiet coffee shop in Georgetown. She was working on a book about the scandal with Alex's cooperation. Their meetings had become a weekly ritual. Alex stirred his coffee, watching the people walking past the window. Some glanced in, recognizing him despite the baseball cap and glasses he wore as a minimal disguise. "I just wanted to expose one wrong thing. I never imagined—" "That's how change happens," Lisa said. One person stands up, then another, and others had stood up. In the wake of Alex's revelations, whistleblowers at 3 other major tech companies had come forward with similar stories of privacy violations and data misuse. Congress was now debating the Mercer Act, comprehensive digital privacy legislation named after the man who had sparked the movement. Alex's phone buzzed with a text from Tom. "Turn on the news, now." Lisa pulled up a news site on her tablet. The headline made them both freeze. "Breaking, former Neurotech security chief found dead in apparent suicide." The article was brief, details still emerging. Robert Lawson, who had overseen security for Project Lighthouse, had been found in his car in his garage, engine running. A note was reportedly found, though its contents hadn't been released. "This isn't right," Alex said, a chill running through him. Lawson was cooperating with Ortiz. He had a plea deal. Lisa was already making calls, stepping outside for privacy. When she returned, her expression was grim. "My source says the timing is suspicious." Lawson was scheduled to provide key testimony tomorrow, linking Reynolds to officials at the National Security Agency who helped expand Lighthouse beyond its original scope. Alex felt sick. "They're silencing witnesses now." "We don't know that for certain," Lisa cautioned, though her tone suggested she shared his suspicion. Alex's phone rang. His attorney. The conversation was brief but significant. "Ortiz wants to move me to a secure location," he told Lisa after hanging up. "She's concerned about potential threats." "You should go," Lisa agreed immediately. "If they're willing to silence Lawson—" Alex nodded, his mind racing. "This changes everything. Reynolds must be truly desperate." Within hours, Alex was relocated to a safe house outside Washington, this one protected by federal agents rather than private security. Ortiz herself visited that evening, her usual composed demeanor showing cracks of genuine concern. "Lawson's death is highly convenient for certain parties," she said carefully, aware of the limitations on what she could share about an ongoing investigation. "You think Reynolds had him killed?" Alex stated bluntly. Ortiz didn't confirm or deny. "What I think is that the stakes in this case keep rising. People with tremendous wealth and power are facing potential disgrace and imprisonment. That makes for a volatile situation." "Should I be worried about my safety?" Alex asked. "We're taking appropriate precautions," Ortiz replied, which wasn't quite an answer. "Meanwhile, I need you to document everything you remember about Lawson. Conversations, meetings, anything that might help us reconstruct what his testimony would have covered." After Ortiz left, Alex called Tom, who arrived at the safe house the next morning with laptops and hard drives. "We're reconstructing Lawson's piece of the puzzle," Alex explained as they set up in the small dining room. "Everything we know or can infer about the NSA connection." Tom nodded grimly. "I brought something else too." He pulled a sealed envelope from his jacket. "Insurance. If anything happens to either of us, this goes to every major news outlet and tech blog. It's everything. The complete Lighthouse architecture, the targeting algorithms, the data mining techniques, all the technical details you agreed not to disclose." Alex hesitated. "That would violate my agreement with Ortiz." "Only if you're the one who releases it," Tom pointed out. "This is just backup protection." For 3 days they worked almost continuously, piecing together the connections between Neurotech, government agencies, and private clients of Project Lighthouse. The picture that emerged was even more disturbing than Alex had initially realized. Lighthouse hadn't just been about data collection, it had been about influence. By identifying personal vulnerabilities through private communications, the system had enabled targeted manipulation of everyone from judges to journalists to politicians. The 4th day, as Alex was reviewing server logs for patterns, his secure phone rang. It was Ortiz, her voice tense. There's been a development. Turn on the news." The television showed a live press conference. Nathan Reynolds, looking haggard but defiant, stood before a bank of microphones. The caption read, "Neurotech founder makes surprise announcement." After much reflection, Reynolds was saying, "I've decided to release all internal documents related to Project Lighthouse. Complete transparency is the only way to address the public's concerns." Alex and Tom exchanged alarmed looks. This made no sense. Reynolds had been fighting to keep those documents sealed. What's his angle? Tom wondered aloud. The answer came moments later, as Reynolds continued. "These documents will show that while mistakes were made in implementation, Project Lighthouse was created with proper oversight and legitimate security goals. They will also show that Alex Mercer was not the innocent whistleblower he claims to be, but an active participant who helped design the very systems he later condemned." Alex felt as if he'd been punched. "That's a lie." "Furthermore," Reynolds continued, "the documents will reveal that Mercer had been secretly copying and selling proprietary code to competitors for months before his supposed crisis of conscience." He's planting false evidence, Tom realized, doctoring the records before releasing them. The secure phone rang again. Ortiz. "Don't respond publicly," she instructed when Alex answered. "Reynolds is getting ahead of us because he knows what's coming. We executed search warrants at 3 locations this morning, including his private server farm. He's trying to control the narrative before we can release what we've found." "What about his claims about me?" Alex demanded. "We have the original server logs," Ortiz assured him. "We can prove tampering if he releases altered documents. But I need you to stay calm and out of sight. This is the most dangerous phase, when people like Reynolds realize they can't win legitimately." After the call, Alex paced the safe house, anger and anxiety battling within him. Tom watched the continuing coverage where pundits were already debating Reynolds' claims. "They're muddying the waters again," Tom said disgustedly, "creating enough confusion that ordinary people won't know who to believe." "It won't work," Alex insisted, though part of him feared otherwise. "Ortiz has the original records." But doubt had been planted. Over the next 2 days, carefully edited documents began appearing online, seemingly showing Alex's deeper involvement in Lighthouse than he'd admitted. Social media filled with debate. "Mercer lied" trended alongside "Stand with Mercer." "This is how they win," Alex said dejectedly, scrolling through the conflicting narratives. "Not by proving they're right, but by making the truth seem unknowable. Then we make it knowable again," Tom argued. He pulled out his laptop. "I've been holding something back. Insurance beyond insurance." He opened a folder containing video files, dozens of them. "I installed keylogger and screen capture software on my Neurotech workstation before I left. It kept running for weeks afterward, sending encrypted files to a private server." Alex stared in disbelief. "You recorded their cover-up?" Tom nodded, a grim smile forming. "Everything. Reynolds and his team discussing how to hide Lighthouse operations, planning which files to delete, which to alter, even talking about how to discredit you if you ever went public. This is," Alex struggled for words, "this changes everything." "It's our nuclear option," Tom agreed. "Ortiz should see it first. If she doesn't act, then we go public." The evidence proved decisive. Within hours of receiving Tom's files, Ortiz obtained emergency warrants. By nightfall, Reynolds and 3 senior Neurotech executives were in custody. The charges expanded beyond privacy violations to include obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and evidence manipulation. The investigation into Lawson's death was reopened as well, with focus on a mysterious payment to his ex-wife the day before he died. 2 weeks later, Alex sat in Ortiz's office, still processing the rapid developments. The prosecutor looked tired but satisfied. "Reynolds is cooperating now," she informed him. "Facing multiple felony counts, he's offering information on everyone involved, including the government officials who enabled and exploited Lighthouse." "Will it be enough?" Alex asked. "Not just to punish a few people, but to actually change how these systems work?" Ortiz considered the question carefully. The legal outcomes are just part of it. The public awareness you've created, that may be the more important legacy. People are paying attention to digital privacy in ways they never did before. Alex nodded, thinking of the congressional hearings now exploring comprehensive privacy legislation. And my situation? In light of the new evidence, all charges against you are being dropped, Ortiz confirmed. The official paperwork will be processed this week. As Alex left the Justice Department, he found Lisa Chen waiting outside with Tom. The spring sunshine felt especially bright after months of uncertainty. What's next for the famous whistleblower? Lisa asked as they walked toward the National Mall. Alex considered the question. Job offers had begun appearing. Privacy advocacy groups, research institutions, even congressional committees seeking expert advisors. His life would never return to the comfortable anonymity he'd once known, but new possibilities were emerging from the chaos. I think I want to help build something better, he said finally. Not just expose what's wrong, but show how technology can protect privacy instead of invading it. Tom grinned. Funny you should mention that. I've been talking to some former neurotech engineers, the ethical ones. They're interested in starting something new. User-owned data, real transparency. All the things we used to talk about before Lighthouse corrupted everything. The idea resonated with something deep in Alex, the original passion that had drawn him to technology before disillusionment set in. Count me in. As they reached the Lincoln Memorial, tourists and school groups moved around them, most unaware of who they passed. Alex paused, looking back at the Capitol dome in the distance. The Mercer Act was being debated there today. Whatever its final form, it would carry his name, a reminder that one person's decision to stand for truth could eventually echo through the halls of power. Was it worth it? Lisa asked quietly, following his gaze. Everything you went through? Alex thought about the question, about the fear, the isolation, the attacks on his character. He thought about Lawson, who hadn't lived to see justice done. He thought about the millions of people who would now have stronger protections for their digital lives. Yes, he said simply, some things are worth any price. As they continued walking, his phone buzzed with a news alert. Another tech company was facing scrutiny over privacy practices. Another whistleblower had come forward, citing Alex's example as inspiration. The ripples were spreading. The work would continue. And somewhere in the digital realm, the architects of the next Project Lighthouse were taking note, aware now that someone might be watching the watchers, ready to stand up and speak the truth.